In this guide, I'll be covering Moon Knight's combo playstyles and his advanced tips. I'll also go over the current nerfs that we saw in the mid-season. So whether you're a complete beginner or a pro player, this video is for you. Moon Knight is a ranged DPS that can glide around the map. His abilities are quite simple. His left click throws multiple bouncing moonblades. His right click is a heavier single shot that also bounces. His E places an Ankh, which is a piece of equipment that lets all of your projectiles bounce off of and between it. He has a grappling hook he can glide, and his ultimate summons giant claws from the sky, which devastates a large area of your choosing. Now, let's go over each ability and teach you how to efficiently utilize each one. Moon Knight's left click is going to be his main source of damage. It fires a bouncing moonblade that does have travel time, and it can also headshot you. So you should always be aiming a little ahead of where your target is, and also aim for the upper half. His right click is essentially the same as his left click. It still bounces between enemies, but instead of multiple projectiles, it is a single shot that hits a lot harder. So you should be using your right click every time it's off cooldown, but also be putting a little bit more effort into making sure it lands, because it's a single shot that bounces. Missing it entirely loses you out on a lot of damage and still puts it on a high cooldown. His E is his Ankh, and this is the most important part of playing Moon Knight. Placing an Ankh allows you to fire your left and right clicks at the Ankh instead of enemies, and it essentially turns on auto aim. Any enemy within the circle is going to get absolutely demolished by whatever you shoot at your Ankh. These Ankhs also pull enemies towards the center, so it's great disruption and CC tool for clumping enemies up before unleashing your barrage of projectiles. Placing an Ankh in the middle of a team and then left and right clicking absolutely destroys them before they even know what happened. The Ankhs have so much value, you can use it to take out clumped enemies, turn auto aim on for mobile characters. You can use it to shoot around corners and KO enemies. You can use it to land shots behind shield characters, which is normally impossible for duelists. And you can even place it at your feet to quickly take out mobile enemies trying to dive you. Now, these Ankhs do have travel time, just like your left and right click. So what you can do is you can throw an Ankh, and before it's even landed, pre-fire your left and right click so that right when the Ankh lands, you've got a ton of projectiles that goes off immediately. This is a great way to pick off specific characters like healers before they even know what's hitting them or where they're getting hit from. The Ankh, it can't be destroyed until it's landed, so just rapidly press an E, left and right click, and you will get off a ton of damage before anyone has a chance to react. You can have up to 2 Ankhs on the map at a time, but placing one does have a lengthy cooldown, so you definitely want to be smart and strategic about how to use your Ankh. The F ability is his grappling hook. This thing is great for moving around the map, helping you once again gain high ground and get a better angle for DPSing. Now, there are a very few different ways to use grappling hook depending on the angle you shoot it at. If you shoot it above you, you will of course be launched forward and up. You can also shoot it directly at your feet to get the most height of your grapple. It gives you a little nice super jump that can quickly get away from danger, even if there's nothing around you to grapple, but is a little slow and it's a little clunky, and it removes your ability to dish out damage while using it. So you should most likely be using it to traverse the map and find nice angles to DPS from, rather than actually using it during combat. Use it to get those nice high ground angles and set yourself up for your glide to cover distances faster. His double jump lets him quickly claim high ground, which is important to find that perfect Ankh placement, and just generally getting a better view of the battleground. High ground is important for every duelist in the game, but it's especially important for Moon Knight because being above your enemies gives you a much better angle to place your Ankh. If you're on even ground with your enemies, you're sort of forced to throw your Ankh on a wall, which is significantly lower value than getting it on the ground in the middle of an enemy team. With his ultimate, Moon Knight calls upon Kanju to open a portal in the sky, raining down claws upon the enemies in a massive area of effect. Now, this ult lasts for a few seconds, and all of its damage comes in clumps rather than all at once. But there's a nerf, so they nerfed this in mid-season, But after the mid-season nerf, his fits hit slower than my Wi-Fi on game day. Moon Knight's ultimate is a great tool for destroying teams trying to move through a choke point or dropping it on top of a contested point. His ultimate is also not great versus mobile or solo targets, because most heroes in the game will be able to fly or just straight up walk out of it. Moon Knight's ultimate is meant to be comboed with other setup abilities, such as Spider-Man's knockout, Groot's ult, or Doctor Strange's ult. This ultimate has been nerfed and kind of buffed at the same time. It moves slower, but does more damage and is game-changing when paired up with the ult. Now, let's talk about some of the weaker areas of playing Moon Knight. First of all, Moon Knight is not good at taking out flyers. This is because both of his projectiles have travel time, so it can be difficult to read the movements of flyers and lead your shots, correct? He can also really struggle against shield, wall, and equipment characters because, again, your projectiles don't bounce off these things. Moon Knight also has a very little horizontal mobility to reposition. He has no dashes, so divers like Spider-Man, Iron Fist, and Black Panther take him out too quickly for Moon Knight to respond. So the best thing you can do is, if you know you're going to get targeted by these heroes, try and hold on to your Ankh to place at your feet and spam your projectiles before they land the final blow. If the enemy catches you without your Ankh, you're probably done for. But try double jumping again and doing some evasive maneuvers with your glide. His ultimate's also very easy to miss or get dodged, making it much more difficult for Moon Knight's ult to rack up KOs compared to other duelists. Always try to hold your ultimate to combo it off your teammates' abilities or place it on choke points and on objectives the enemies are trying to contest. Now let's talk about some of the strengths of picking Moon Knight. Moon Knight's biggest strength lies in his ability to turn on auto aim with his Ankh and the sheer amount of value you get from bouncing your shots off enemies. Your Ankh lets you outrange characters you have no right outranging. It lets you snipe key targets in less than a second, and it even lets you outburst assassins trying to jump you. His damage is extremely reliable compared to someone like Hawkeye and Black Widow, who is either landing headshots or finding picks or not doing much of anything. So you should always be saving your Ankh to use on squishy and single target characters, pretty much guaranteeing a KO. If you land your combo, as well as keeping it for the enemy dive heroes as a way to protect yourself from the dive, you should avoid using your Ankh on tanks, because it really won't do enough damage to justify it, and most tanks can easily destroy the Ankh. All in all, Moon Knight is an extremely fun duelist that is great versus clumped up enemies in contesting zone areas. Be sure to use your 3 forms of mobility to traverse the map and maintain high ground advantage. So use your Ankh intelligently and save your ultimate for when enemies are already locked down in an area. If you follow these tips, you'll be taking out the enemy team and dealing high damage, not giving your teammates anything to complain about. So if this guide has helped you in any way, please let me know in the comments below. And also too, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content.